Hello everyone. Back again with film recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of a horror mystery films from 2021, titled Aftermath. Before we get to the storyline, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and great day. Without further ado, let's get straight to the storyline. The film is based on actual events, and it opens with a distress 911 call, wherein a gunshot can be heard and the woman on the call dies. In the film's intro, we are then shown a view of the aftermath, with the woman's dead body lying on the floor, then her husband's dead body, and bloody walls. Right that next morning, we get introduced to our main character, Kevin, who is part of a cleanup crew for the very crime scene we just saw. After they thoroughly clean the place, Kevin and his buddies walk out, with his friends making insensitive comments about the murder and suicide that took place in that house. The former house owner's family members overhear this conversation, and one of them sourly reprimands Kevin and his friends. We are then introduced to Kevin's wife, Natalie, who works as a designer. Natalie receives a phone call from her sister, Danny, who informs her that they've found a financier who would skyrocket their small business. Natalie excitedly informs her husband Kevin about this, and later that night, we see them lovingly interact until Kevin's mood shifts, and he pulls away. It is here that we learn that they're having marital problems, because Natalie once had an affair. The two go see a marriage counselor, who advises that they need to start anew, perhaps even find a new place to live entirely. A few months after the meeting, Natalie has a conversation with her sister Danny, through which we learn that Natalie had an affair because she was feeling neglected by her husband Kevin, who at the time was grieving over his brother's suicide. Kevin then pays her a visit and he tells her that he's found a house for sale. The only catch is, it is the very house that he cleaned up in the beginning of the movie, wherein a gruesome murder and suicide recently took place. Natalie finds this morbid, and the two get into an argument, but later that night, she comes up to Kevin and tells him she's changed her mind. On the next day, they go see the former house owner's relative, Claudia, and pleads her to lower the price because they aren't rich. Claudia relents because admittedly, she has been trying to sell the house for months, but no one would take it because of the murder that took place in it. It's move-in day, and Natalie's sister Danny agrees to help her carry a few boxes to the new house. This is where the fun begins. Natalie's dog starts barking at a closet downstairs, prompting Natalie and Danny to check it out. Natalie finds nothing amiss inside the closet when she opens it, save for a suspicious dent on the wall that probably has to do with the fact that the wife of the previous house's owner hid in the closet, before getting murdered by her husband during that unfortunate night. Later that night, Kevin tries to get Odie the dog to come upstairs with him, but to Kevin's mild frustration, Odie refuses to follow. Here we the audience know the reason why. Kevin goes upstairs and joins his wife in bed, but the wife starts giving him a perplexed look. Apparently, just moments ago she just saw someone enter their bedroom and headed straight for the bathroom. She of course thought it was Kevin, but obviously it's not, because Kevin only returned upstairs just now. Kevin then proceeds to check the bathroom, but finds no one there. He tells Natalie that there's nothing to worry about, and that she must have been seeing things because she was half asleep. In the next morning, Kevin receives a porn magazine in the mail, so he calls the magazine to tell them that he never ordered such thing, but gets told that he must have because the order was under his name and address. At the same time, Natalie is freaking out, because she has a meeting with the financier today, but she can't seem to find her car keys although she swears she last put it on her work desk. Kevin calms her down and helps her look for it. Oddly enough, he immediately finds it. As Natalie attends her meeting with the financier, Kevin, who recently decided to return to college as part of starting anew, goes to attend a lecture today. Later that night, Kevin throws a sweet surprise for Natalie, to congratulate her on her big break. The two end up making love to each other. Much later that night, Natalie gets woken up from her sleep, because the room is freezing cold. She checks out the temperature, and finds that it has been turned down to 31. She then goes downstairs to get a drink, but suddenly hears music playing in another room. She goes to investigate and turns the music off, and soon notices that the closet door is open. Natalie closes it and moves to leave, but the closet door swings open again. She then takes a deep breath, and shuts it once more before coming back to bed upstairs. In the morning, Natalie and Kevin lovingly kiss each other, and it seems that now their relationship is becoming healthy again. But then they hear a doorbell, and Kevin confusedly receives a huge box full of porn magazines ordered under his name. Later on, Natalie is at home alone in the middle of a phone call with her sister, who surprisingly informs her that their mother is coming into town, and would like to have dinner with Natalie and Kevin. In the middle of this, Natalie throws a ball for Odie the dog to fetch, but the ball rolls under the bed, and Natalie can't seem to reach it. She goes to retrieve a broom, but when she returns, she finds the ball already sitting on the bed. Natalie is of course rendered confused by this but brushes it off. Afterwards, she goes to attend yet another business meeting, during which she meets Nick, the very man she had an affair with. Here she finally learns that Nick is a partner of the financier, who Natalie is going to settle a deal with. Learning this is her only choice, Natalie warily attempts to stay professional and proceeds to the meeting. Later that night, Kevin is at a school friend's place to work on a group project, while Natalie is at home asleep. She gets woken up again by the freezing temperature of the room, and sees the bedroom door wide open. And then she rushes to turn the lights on, but the hand is gone. She then gets up, and walks up to the open door, but this happens. When Kevin returns home that night, he finds Natalie asleep on the living room couch. Natalie claims she doesn't remember how or why she ended up sleeping there, and tries to convince Kevin that she saw someone outside their bedroom earlier, but Kevin doesn't believe her. They resort to seeing their marriage counselor to settle this, with Kevin insisting that Natalie must be developing some paranoid hallucination. They make up on their drive away from the session, because Kevin doesn't want them fighting while they have dinner with Natalie's mom. Since Kevin and Natalie are away for the couple's therapy, they task Danny the sister to dog sit Odie. When Natalie is chilling in the house, all of a sudden she hears Odie barking downstairs, and then crying shortly after. Worried, Danny goes downstairs to check it out. When Danny goes to look for Odie, she comes across a lowly running sink. She turns it off before finding the dog curled up on the couch. But when Danny is about to return upstairs, she hears the sink running again, and re-enters the kitchen to find the sink on. Danny then proceeds to hear a set of footsteps upstairs, and all of a sudden the power goes out. She retrieves a flashlight, and goes back upstairs when she hears her phone ring inside the bedroom, but can't seem to find it. And then she hears heavy footsteps running towards the bedroom, and panically shuts the door. She returns to the hall through another door, and closes the door behind her, but the knob starts moving on its own. Beyond scared, she hides inside the closet, but then when Natalie returns home with Kevin, she is furious because Danny is nowhere to be found. They then get ready for dinner with Natalie's mom, and Natalie spends dinner angrily texting Danny for going AWOL. Shortly after, dinner escalates as Natalie gets provoked by her narcissistic mom, and ends up in a shouting match. But then, they hear a loud noise, and go outside to find that someone has burnt their car down while saying "You're not welcome here." In the morning, a detective tells them that the perpetrators were teenagers, who were infuriated because a social media account whose home address is Kevin and Natalie's house created a social media post about recruiting white supremacists. Hearing this, Kevin swears that he would never commit such thing, and that someone must be trying to sabotage them. The detective simply asks them to keep a lookout for anyone or anything out of the ordinary. On the next day, Kevin spends time with his school friend at the dog park, while Natalie pays a visit to the former house owner's relative, Claudia. Natalie asks about what exactly led to the gruesome event at the house, and Claudia begins telling a story about her brother, Jay, and his wife Erin, who had a broken marriage because Erin was having an affair, but the couple prevailed and was trying to fix their marriage. Plus, Claudia is convinced that despite the official police report, she believes her brother Jay didn't kill his wife, let alone committed suicide, because that day, for some reason all the house's security cameras stopped working. Suspiciously, Claudia's husband Robert is eavesdropping their conversation in the other room. Meanwhile at the dog park, Odie the dog suddenly appears to be unwell. When Natalie finally exits Claudia's residence, the husband Robert steps out and suspiciously tries to buy the house back, but Natalie refuses. She then receives a phone call about Odie, and rushes to the vet. The vet shows up and tells the couple that Odie's heart is giving out, because he must have accidentally digested some sort of toxin. The two grieve for the dog, and when they get home, as it turns out Nick, the man Natalie had an affair with, had sent Natalie a bouquet of flowers, leaving Natalie no choice but to come clean to Kevin about how she would have to work with him. This angers Kevin, and the two end up arguing. That night, they get waken up by noises outside their bedroom, prompting the two to rush downstairs to investigate, but finds no one. They decide to report this to the detective immediately, but there is nothing he can do because no one saw the culprit. Natalie then begins listing the weird incidents that has happened to her so far, but the detective doesn't give much of a reaction to that. After the detective leaves, the two begin arguing again, with Kevin still insisting that Natalie was just delirious the whole time. She pleads for him to install security cameras around the house, until the husband finally gives in and does it on the next day. Natalie finally receives a simple reply from her AWOL sister Danny, and rolls her eyes at it. Meanwhile, Kevin suddenly feels unwell at work, and begins throwing up. That evening, Natalie decides to call Nick and tells him to never send her any flowers. Nick, however, confusedly tells her that he never did. This prompts Natalie to take a picture of the greeting card she got on the bouquet, but as she's about to send a picture of the letter to Nick, she comes across photos of her while asleep on her phone. As if that's not enough, the turntable starts playing. Natalie rushes to turn it off, and startles when she hears rustling from outside. She immediately calls 911, but as it turns out the noises are coming from a branch hitting the window when the wind blows. Feeling relieved, Natalie hangs up the call, but then a figure appears out of nowhere and begins chasing Natalie. She goes upstairs, locks herself in the bedroom, and calls 911, before running away again when she finds the scary figure somehow in the room with her. Natalie reaches the balcony and begins climbing the railing. But then she slips and falls into the swimming pool, and Kevin, who just got home, rushes to her aid. Medics are summoned to the scene, and they file yet another report to the detective, who is still unable to find who the intruder was. That next day, Kevin is summoned to the police precinct, and the detective shows him the security footage from that night. The police has concluded that Natalie is delusional, and no one was ever with her that night. Kevin confronts Natalie about it during couples therapy, and Natalie, who insists she's not delusional, suggests that they should just sell the house back to Claudia and her husband. Kevin refuses, and during their walk away from the therapy session, he suddenly collapses to the floor, and they rush to see a doctor. The doctor informs Natalie that Kevin has been gradually poisoned over time, leading no other person but Natalie as the suspect. The detective confronts Natalie about it, accusing her of poisoning her own husband with the motive of wanting to get back together with Nick, the man she had an affair with. When Kevin is fit enough to come back home, he himself begins to question whether or not Natalie actually poisoned him, and refuses to take the meal she made. Later that evening, a strange man arrives at the doorstep, and suddenly moves to attack Natalie. Scared to death, she takes a pair of scissors lying on the floor and stabs the man. The next scene shows Kevin and Natalie sitting in front of the detective, listening to him lay out everything that he's dug out so far. As it turns out, Claudia's husband, Robert, was the one who sent the strange man to their house. He did it with the intention that Natalie and Kevin would move out, and resell the house to him. However, Robert swore he never set foot in the house himself, and wasn't to blame for every other strange occurrence in the house. When the couple return home that night, Natalie, who notices how much they've been fighting, suggests that maybe they should separate for a while. Kevin doesn't reply, and the two go to bed with tension in the air. When Natalie wakes that morning, Kevin has left for school, during which time he sees a text message from Natalie telling him not to come home tonight. In the evening, Kevin receives a voice message from Natalie saying that she misses him, and the confused Kevin debates whether or not he should come home that night. Right after leaving the voice message, Natalie climbs into the tub for a bath. At the same time, Kevin decides to call her, and Natalie annoyedly asks him where he's been the whole day. This renders Kevin even more confused because he received a text message from Natalie specifically telling him not to come home. Natalie swears she never texted him such thing, and receives a screenshot of the text thread. As Natalie waits for Kevin to come home, she decides to check the security footage of her bedroom, and it's at this point where she finally discovers a creepy figure watching her sleep by the side of the bed, right after Kevin left the house this morning. As she continues watching in horror, the closet door behind her swings open, and this happens. Natalie drowsily wakes up in the basement of the house with her hands chained up, surrounded by pictures of Aaron, the late house owner, with a man she was having an affair with, along with gruesome pictures of Aaron's dead body, and several pictures with Aaron's husband's face crossed out. She struggles to break free while a scary figure lurks around, before finally coming closer and revealing himself to be Aaron's lover. Natalie realizes right then that this man has been living in the basement this whole time, because Aaron brought him here to lock him up until he lost his mind. And when he broke free, he decided to murder Aaron and her husband. Natalie then calms him down and tells him that he never deserved such treatment, and then he suddenly kissed her. But the man's mood shifts instantly when he sees that Kevin has returned home through the security camera. Natalie, who realizes Kevin is in danger, tries convincing him to let her go, so they can murder Kevin together, but the man simply gags her mouth before making his way upstairs through the vents. Kevin looks around the house for Natalie, and blindly climbs into bed as he sees a lock of dark hair on the bed. But as it turns out, it is Natalie's sister's severed head he's cuddling. Meanwhile, Natalie manages to break free from her chains, and immediately screams his name from the basement. Kevin and the man scuffle with each other, but the man manages to knock Kevin out. Natalie returns upstairs and hides, while the man roams about. And he pins her down when he finally finds her. He proceeds to choke her, until Kevin sneaks up behind him and stabs him in the back. Natalie then stabs him in the chest until the man dies. Kevin apologizes for initially not believing his wife, and the couple embrace each other in relief. Later on, the police are summoned to the scene. Before the film ends, we see a time jump to a month later, where Kevin and Natalie adopted a new puppy, and seem to have mended their broken marriage. They move out of the house, and the movie ends with the closet door slowly closing on its own. Okay guys. That's all the recap of Aftermath 2021. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video.